Okay, so in last week's lesson, we spent a little bit of time looking at designing a fidget spinner. So many of you should have your designs kind of already drawn out. And I did say that it would be a good idea to maybe draw these to full size. Okay, some of you may have also gone on to do a cardboard model just to check that everything fits. So this next part is going to be using Onshape, which is a 3D CAD design software, and using that to develop your design. So first things first, you should already have your account made from last year, but if you have not already done that, you'll find a kind of a PowerPoint to show you how to do that on the Google Classroom. Just first thing first, just make sure that you've got on your preferences here that you have millimeters and grams. Okay, that just makes sure that you've got everything in metric, because otherwise, if you did it all in inches, the way that it's set to in default, then that just kind of makes everything a little bit more difficult. So if you go to create document, and I'm going to call this fidget spinner. I'm just going to call it fidget spinner 1. I'm going to do a couple of designs so you can kind of see what's going on. First things first, we're going to need to draw on this top plane. Okay, so we're going to go to sketch, and we're going to select this kind of triangle here that says top on it. So you see the top there. So highlight that one so that it highlights orange. And we're going to come over here to the top on this little square. So first things first, we're going to draw our center circle where the ball bearing would be. And I'm just going to make that kind of any size at this moment in time. And I'm going to put another one out here. This is going to be kind of the main material. Okay. I'm going to put a dimension on it. So using this dimension tool, I'm going to select the inner circle, and that needs to be 22 millimeters. Okay. This dimension here, you can make it any dimension you want, but I would say it needs to be maybe at least 32 to 35 millimeters diameter. So 30, I'm going to make it 35. Okay, it's going to be a fairly thick one. So that's kind of the main kind of inner part of my ball bearing, or sorry, of my, so kind of where your thumb would normally sit. I'm now going to create the rest of my shape. So I'm going to create another circle, and I'm going to put this out here, and you know, the widest radius we said should be kind of somewhere around the 100 to, sorry, widest diameter should be somewhere around the 100 to 80 millimeters. So you don't want it any bigger than 100, otherwise it'll be too big. So anywhere between 80 and 100. So I'm going to make mine 80 because that's what I did with my cardboard model. And I'm going to take this outside circle. So if I just press escape to get out of the dimension tool, if I select that, you see this button, it says construction. It just turns it into a dotted line so that we could just use that as a guide. So that's kind of my biggest, like I don't want any of my fidget spinner really getting any bigger than that. Okay. Like I said, if you want to make it 100, that's fine, but no bigger than that really. So I'm going to put in my next part of my design. Now I need to change that back to being a normal line. So that looks kind of alright. I can kind of adjust it a little bit if I need to by clicking on it and moving it so that I'm kind of happy with where it is. I can kind of click and drag the outside as well to kind of adjust the size of it. And I'll put a dimension on that. So that's okay. So I'm going to make that. I'm going to make it 28. I'm going to make the distance from the center of one circle to the center of the other circle 26, because that just kind of looks right. Okay, so that looks kind of correct. This is up to you as you kind of change and move things. So you might have some dimensions that you started with, they might change. So my initial idea here, if you can see in the camera, has kind of 4 circles kind of based off that. So I'm going to use, if I come up here to the linear pattern, like the little 4 squares, and I go to the drop down menu, circular pattern. I'm going to select my circle here, and you'll see it'll show you a little bit of a preview of what you've got there. So here you can just about see that I've got a 3. If I double click on that 3 and make it 4, and click away from it again, or click enter maybe, then I now have 4. Similarly, if I wanted to make it 2, I could have 2. So just again, kind of whatever your design might be. So I've got 4 there. Click OK. Right, so that's kind of the outline of my shape. Okay, if I kind of press escape there, you'll see that I've got 4 circles. It becomes a little bit clearer. You do end up with a lot of kind of lines in around. Feel free to move these out of the way to kind of make it a bit easier to see. And the last part now is to extrude this. So it should kind of give you like kind of suggested ones, but basically you just want to make sure that that center circle is empty and that the rest of it is there. You'll see here, okay, and the depth there is miles too big. It's 25 millimeters, which is like, if you can see my finger there, it's like that long. So it's quite a big size. So really what we might want would be something a bit more practical. So if I get my vernier calipers and check that out. So the size of my ball bearing is 7 millimeters. So we don't really want it to be much bigger than that. So we could make it maybe 6, 7, 8 millimeters thick. And it will update and click OK. We can zoom in there a little bit. Zoom in a little bit. And you'll notice that it's quite big. Now you can hide these planes at this point. So at the top, front and right, it just kind of gets rid of these squares. So just click on the little eyeball and it'll kind of work a bit better. You can right click, zoom to fit, and it'll look quite good. Last thing that you might want to do is maybe put on a fillet. So a fillet just kind of rounds the corner so you don't have any sharp edges. I'm going to make mine 1.5 millimeters. And I'm going to select the edges. So it should give you like a little bit of a preview of what you're looking for. You may need to play around with the settings here to make sure that it fits correctly. And you'll probably need to kind of play around on this kind of orientation square in the top corner so you can kind of make sure that you get all of the sides of it. So I think that's all of them. Yeah, and I'm going to leave the inner circle as it is. That's clicked OK. That's my design. Okay, so that's one design. Obviously your design will be different, but that kind of shows you a lot of the basics. I'm going to do a couple of other designs that you can have a look at in the next video.